Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Autism Story podcast. Today, I have the opportunity to chat with Raiza Garcia. She is a BCBA and a former special ed teacher. I wanted to bring Raiza on to share her story because what she's doing is so amazing and inspiring. It's something that a lot of us speller parents would love to see. ABA practitioners pairing spelling in their practices. So today we're going to be talking all about her experience supporting her spellers using her background as a BCBA. Raiza, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to chat with you today. I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and we'll start from there.
Hi, I'm Raiza Garcia. I am a BCBA. I was a DOE special education teacher for 19 years. And so this is my first year of being a BCBA. And I have clients who are spellers. So I am on the journey to become a spelling practitioner as well.
That's amazing. I'm so excited to be able to chat with you, and hear from your experience working with autistic individuals and spellers, and how you got into it. So I can't wait to get into all of that. So can you please share your background in education?
Sure. My 20s, I was a very spirited, change the world, let's get in there teacher that I worked more in the inner city schools of Florida, walking through metal detectors, students with guns, knives, a lot of gang member type of students. And so that was my first intro into the world of disabilities and writing IEPs, because a lot of my students back then were, classified emotionally disturbed. So a lot of trauma just coming from pure brokenness. So that was kind of a big training ground, I think, for all things in life for me, because a lot of times in those schools, there are no resources. They're like, you got a pulse? You're still here? You made it to 6th period. Awesome. I spent about a decade in those school settings in Florida. And then I moved to Hawaii, where I had the opportunity to start working with more severe disabilities. And that is when I had my first students with autism. It was like mixed classes of autism, Prader-Willi, Down syndrome, the mixed disabilities. And I was at a middle school, so I had like 2 periods with those guys, and we just had fun. They are so lovable, and they all had adults with them. And we played games, we did crafts, we did recycling, we did like different things on campus. But I didn't have them all day. And that was like my first intro into working with this population. And, they brought me lots of joy. I never felt like, am I really helping them to learn something, to, there's that goal of independence or having like a quality of life, on their own, and like connecting with people in different ways. Like I never really had, I never felt like I was doing that, but at the same time we were like creating something joyful and fun. Like school was joyful and fun for them. But it was always just like, what more can I do to help them? Because when they get passed out of this class, or some teachers aren't always as nice, you know what I mean, and things, and you're like, you just worry about like, where are they going next?
Yeah.
Which I'm not even a parent of them, but like as a teacher, that was just always my heart. Like, how do I help them more? And I didn't really have like great training as far as like support in the district. I mean, we had autism consulting teachers. A lot of things that I would hear was just like, it's okay. Just like let them do their thing. Like it's recess. And if they want to just like go and like be in the corner of the field and like pick up sticks and like pull leaves, just like this is their time. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, this is their only access to general ed peers.
Yeah.
Like, where are we connecting them? That was always kind of this this kind of pull in my heart of like, this isn't happening at school. So then I moved into a severe disabilities classroom at the elementary level, where I had my kids, they call it fully self-contained all day, kindergarten to 5th grade, and at a very nice school, blue ribbon top school. And the expectation was just keep your kids in the room, keep it quiet, and you get everything you want for them, but just like keep them there. That's the school's expectation. But then I'm sitting in IEPs with parents who are like, I want my kid to like go with his peers. I want my kid to read and write and do, like, parents having dreams for their children, So as a teacher in the middle of these two things, you're like, okay, how do I start creating spaces, right? And so a couple years into that school, I started getting a lot more, I guess, loud for my kids and their families, and just like connecting with the gen ed teachers who would be open. Like, can we bring them in for morning business? Like, can we bring them in for this? Making sure, really dialing in the IEP, in the IEP, it says the least restrictive environment, right? And I would write it all out in there, all school-wide assemblies, all recess, all lunch, all art, PE, I dialed it in so that this is the legal document, right?
Yeah.
I was kind of an inside advocate for my students. And at the time, it was also, we're coming out of COVID a little bit. So we're doing these Zoom IEPs, and I'm texting the parents, like, say this right now, I was an insider, but I just had to kind of walk that line, of not basically pissing off my admin and my colleagues so much, but also realizing like the parents want this for their kids. And, I don't see how a classroom of non-speaking individuals who just stay together all day long and don't get to connect with their other peers, like, it just never sat right with me, And as we started creating things, and there were some teachers, like, I had it lined up. I was like, kindergarten, we got a 50-50 chance of there's certain teachers that are like, game on, let's go, calling me, oh, we're going to do this, we're having this special person come today, and this and this and this. And I'm like, all right, my kid's going, who can go with him? If nobody's available, I'm going with them. I mean, it was kind of just like a little bit of a circus, an organized circus. And there was like certain grades that were so open, and then there were certain ones that it's like, I got a brick wall with a fortress and a barbed wire around it. Like, can I get through, to let them have access to be around their peers. And I noticed, I wasn't a BCBA at the time, but I would be like, man, when they're going out and they're getting to be with their peers, they're happier. There's something happening, these behaviors, these tantrums, these meltdowns are like not as severe, and maybe they aren't doing the work that their gen ed peers are doing. Maybe they have to I had this one first grade teacher, her name was Rachel. She was amazing. My kiddo would have his seat in the back of the classroom, but like if he needed to get up and walk and pace in the back when that was going on, it was all good. She talked to the other students about it. He was welcome. He was part of the classroom, and it was awesome. And I loved to see that happen. And then the ones that I had to fight, it just got really exhausting, because you have like half of the people on board with you and half of the people like, oh, she's just trying to get her students out of the room. She's just trying to push them all out. Even though I'm like, I'll go with them. I'll be there too. I'm making sure they're not going on their own. They got their one-to-one adult. If I have to switch another person to go because they're like more attuned with what goes on in that classroom, I'll do it, whatever it takes. But that was kind of the vibe. Like, she's just pushing them out. She doesn't want to teach them. And I'm like, I just want them, I've got students who are severe non-speaking. They're only children. They're single parents. Like, where are they getting access to other peers, right? Where?
Yeah.
And I hear their moms' hearts of like, I want them to. So I'm like, if we aren't, if it's not like really disrupting your classroom, really making a big scene and all these things, why can't they come in there for parts of the day? Why can't they feel like they belong in there too? So I was constantly doing that fight. And the one that led me to become a BCBA was there was an incident where I had a second grader, 7 years old. He had two adults on him. He had an EA and an RBT. He has a BCBA. He has me. And it was a school-wide activity day, fitness day that is written on the IEP. He will attend with his gen ed peers, and he walked out of the car at arrival and he pinched one of his staff. So all the word got out that this kid is on one today. I get a phone call. By the time he gets to my classroom, I get a phone call from the second grade gen ed teacher. Oh, I don't think he can come today. I heard he's, being really aggressive. So he needs to stay with you. And I was like, the rage was like, are you kidding? I'm like, I think maybe I need to email you and familiarize you with special ed IDEA law. So I'll do that right now. And hung up.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is written on his IEP. You don't just get to say, oh, no, he doesn't get to come today. And guess what? He has no way to tell his mom, oh, Mom, you packed all the special things I needed for fitness day and had me all prepared and all this stuff. But I had to stay in my self-contained classroom. He doesn't have that voice to tell her, right? So I got on the emails, CCing my admin. And I basically said, if this happens and he's excluded, I will notify the parents that he was excluded and we are violating his IEP. So that's up to you guys, but just know that will go down. And so I hated that I had to get to that level of I'm threatening, and I'm seen as a threat in the school from just giving these guys that. And I told the teacher, I'm like, he's got 2 adults with him. I'll go with him too. Does he need 3? Do you feel safe for the 7-year-old to be around his classmates playing games outside on the field when he has 3 adults? Does that make you feel safe enough? And that whole view of like, to me, almost looking at them like they're monsters.
Yeah.
And it just like really broke my heart. And I'm like, this world of in the classroom and the fights I have to fight just for these kids to have access for what's already written on their IEP is exhausting me. I don't think I can sustain this. So that's when I started my whole journey to become a BCBA. And I found myself really wanting to like support the families, and that's where the line with the DOE, my principal and I, we certainly got into it. And how he said I was a liability because I'm too close to the families.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Which I'm like, okay, well, here I am, a veteran teacher of 19 years, special ed, and I've never gone to due process. Not a many special ed teachers that can say that because there's typically some contention. But to me, it's just like, I'm listening to the families and they're not asking for something that's above and beyond and ridiculous of the school, So that was kind of me entering into the BCBA world and really loving the home setting where I can like support the whole, my client by also supporting the family. Like, what can I do to help you with systems, things that make this work for you so that you have some peace too, right? Because caretakers, you guys are the true superheroes, like it's a 24/7 and, they need support as well in learning. You have a child with severe autism and you're trying to learn what severe autism is at the same time as having this going on in your home, so that is where I find my heart to be at, and I'm just really grateful for being where I am now, and at least knowing. And guess what? My clients, it's a free service. I sit in on the IEPs. And when I sit in on the IEPs, it's a real difference how the school is talking to them.
Yeah.
If it's just them, you know.
Wow. Because they know you're there and you know what
Yeah, and I was a DOE special ed teacher for 19 years, you know. So I know what is acceptable, what is not, what, you know, I find that sometimes there could be people that it's like almost like bullying parents into just agree with this. Because we say, like, I'm cutting speech. But why? Why are you cutting speech? That makes no sense. Where's the data? I'm moving him into this. Okay. Why? Where's the data? Well, because a lot of times he does. Well, what does a lot of times mean? You know, 8 out of 10 times, like, where's your data? Show me. And then they're like, okay, well, we'll revisit this, right? Because now they got to collect their data. You can't tell me that this child always does this, most of the time does this. Like, what does that mean? And that's where the BCBA brain in me comes in too, because we are data driven, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to show me what that means. You can't just tell us that this kid is doing this. And then we just have to agree with you.
Yeah.
You know, helping parents really empower themselves. You're part of this team. You can call for a revision at any time. This is a living document. This isn't like signed, sealed, delivered forever. You feel like there's some things that needed to be added or changed, or we look at the LRE because he's making progress, she's making progress in these areas. You can call for an IEP at any time. That's your right as a parent. You know,
I love
so
that. And I feel like a lot of parents
blend it all together, you know?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of parents don't know certain things like just that they can call in and make changes and that they are as much a part of the team as anybody else, not because the teachers or the people that are in school are professionals and that they know better. And, that's something I learned later in our autism journey with my son in school. I can see the difference in the beginnings when we would do meetings with the school for like IEP. I would just accept everything. I was so trusting and just so okay with everything. And I remember feeling like hearing people talk about IEPs or meetings, thinking like it is the most exhausting thing for families. And I was like, that's not my experience. It's just been a breeze here. But I didn't know that I just didn't understand what I was doing.
Right.
I was accepting everything and so trusting. Yeah. And then when we really got into it and we sat down with some parents who understood better, and we started to see, we can't just be accepting of everything.
Yeah, totally. You need to understand it. And I mean, unfortunately, the whole idea of hiring and paying for an advocate, which some families do that, to a school, and this just comes to history of having to go to due process and big financial, to me, it always comes down to money. But the school, if you bring an advocate in, you as a parent are thinking, I'm doing a great thing. I have this advocate who understands this whole process and I don't. But the school sees it as you're an enemy now.
Yeah.
And so I hate that. I hate that it's like that, because there are some advocates that I've even heard that are like, no, we need to get this out of them and get this out of them. And I'm like, that's not necessary. You know what I mean? So I like to just kind of just be in between. Like, obviously I'm advocating for my client. But I understand what goes on in a school and what you can provide and how we can get creative in middle way that is very cost effective,
Yes.
And that way it's all going to go back to the client having access as much as possible.
Yes. I love that. And I'm just so thankful that you how your journey brought you to where you followed your gut, and it shows that you really are passionate about helping these kids. And so now I'm curious to know, how did you find out about spelling, and how did you get into the spelling world?
Right. This has been a wild journey. Of course, and I think probably there's a lot of professionals in the field who, last summer I had a BCBA friend in August send me a podcast, the telepathy tapes, right? You got to listen to this. And I was in Florida visiting my family. I had just passed my BCBA exam. So my brain was just like, that exam is so grueling. It is. I will say this for BCBAs, the process to become a BCBA is so grueling, so intense. So, I have a lot of respect for all the professionals in the field. My whole point in sharing everything I'm sharing today is to hopefully open their eyes to what
Yeah.
spelling does, right? So as I listened to that podcast, I'm like, okay, first of all, the telepathy part, duh. I already knew this. I knew this from some of my students in my classroom. And there was two in particular. I'm like, he's reading my mind. He knows. He knows that I'm already planning to take us out to we had this beautiful stream on our campus. We live in Hawaii. It was a gorgeous campus. Lots of beautiful outside places. And he already knew we're going there. And I didn't even say anything yet. This would happen a lot in my classroom days where I'm like, he's reading my mind. He's reading my mind. So
Mhm.
that whole part didn't surprise me in any kind of way. But what I was blown away at is, how are these people getting this message from them? What is going on that they are getting such depth, so much knowledge, so much experience? This is not an AAC device saying, I want Cheetos. You know what I mean? There
Yeah.
is way more to what these guys are saying. And I'm like, how is this happening? How is this happening? So as I was listening to the whole podcast, and I literally listened to the first season in 8 days. I went on a walk for an hour every day to listen. I was done 8 days in a row. And I think it was 8 or 12 episodes. I finished it in that time frame. Cause I'm like, how are they telling these people this? And so that's when I kind of learned letterboarding. Well, that's interesting. I just finished my BCBA journey, my ABA program. It takes some things to become a BCBA. You have to, do your master's degree program, or for my case, I already had a master's. So I did the credentialed add-on. Plus I have to do 2,000 field work hours. I used my classroom, and I did spend about 6 months in a clinic as an RBT. And then you have to pass the big exam. So I had just finished all of this, and what was said, and it was in an ethics course, the advanced ethics course, about spelling. It was getting into the pseudoscience. And we as BCBAs, we are scientists. We are evidence-based, driven by science, things that are observable. That is, we have this ethical, I don't know, we're on an ethical high horse, basically, to me.
Mhm.
That what we do is only evidence-based. And so I remember there was a slide. It was examples of pseudoscience: spelling, letterboarding, rapid prompted method. It was literally a slide, right? All of this. This is pseudoscience. Don't even go there. So that's all I know about this. And they didn't really go into, why is it pseudoscience? Why do you believe it's pseudoscience? It's just this is the way, almost this is the law, just go, keep going. And at the time, I'm okay, I'm just trying to get all this information in to pass this crazy 4-hour exam. I'm on this ABA journey. I'm too close. I'm not questioning anything. But I also didn't know any people that used it. So it wasn't anything that, it was just that's the way it is. So when I find out in the telepathy tapes, that's how these people are communicating. I'm like, huh, this is crazy. Like 3 months ago, I'm hearing about how bad this is, and this is fake, basically, pseudo. And so that was my like, huh, but this podcast is real. And I already know about the telepathy thing. I didn't have to be having a verbal communication, speaking communication with my kiddos to know, like, you're totally reading my mind. Like, you are knowing what I have next without me even saying it to a single staff in here. You know what I mean? So, and at that time I was like praying for a job, and I was like, I had listened to the podcast, and I specifically remember being in Florida and being like, all right, Lord, whoever these guys are, these are the clients I want to work with. So please make it happen if I can. I want to know how these families are getting to have this connection with their kid. You know, how are they getting to know all these things about their child? And, I just know families who know, like, oh, he wants Cheetos, he wants pepperoni, the pictures that are on the AAC device. And so, yeah, a couple months later, I was volunteering at it's called Access Surf, here in Hawaii, where they take people with disabilities out. It's like an amazing nonprofit here. They do it every first Saturday of the month. And as I was there, I saw a former client who is now my client and their family. And they were just like, you need a job? I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And I got to figure out who I'm going to work for. I know I want to be in the home setting. And they're like, oh, you got to meet who we're working with in Maui. He's amazing. What they're doing is awesome. Spelling to communicate, like all this stuff. I was like, what? Spelling to communicate? What? Oh my, like the telepathy tapes, like that whole communication method. So I made the phone call to my boss, who's the owner of this ABA company in Maui, which is a different island that we live in. And our first conversation, he was like, okay, you're not a DOE BCBA, right? And I was like, no. He's like, okay, good. He's like, all right, well, for him, he had a bad experience with his son where he ended up having to have a lawsuit. And he used that to make the Autism Center in Maui and do like a lot of good for many families. So, and I think there's this whole like old school ABA mentality thinking, right? So he's like, oh, this is a fresh one. And then he was like, I want you to, because I told him, I was like, I listened to the telepathy tapes. And he's like, well, his son is a very profound speller. Okay. And this is a young man with severe level 3 autism. And he is a very profound speller. So, and their whole journey is just incredible. But he told me, I'm glad you listened to that podcast. Now I want you to read the book Underestimated and then call me. So that was like my interview, right? Yeah. And I read that book, and actually I listened to it. I listened to it in like 2 days while I'm doing everything. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I watched the Spellers movie, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And so then he's like, okay, why don't you log on a Zoom and you can watch my son's spelling lesson, right? He's on Maui. This is a young man who's 20, I think he's 25 now. And so I was like, yo, wow, I get to see this in action. Okay, cool. And I went into it with a BCBA mindset, very curious, but skeptical, right? Because I've been trained to like, this is fake, the communication partner that's doing everything, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be looking at this with like really strong discernment of what am I seeing. And I'm watching as they had cameras all around, right? And he's on the keyboard at this point in his journey. And he's a very profound open speller. So she did the whole lesson at the beginning. he has a S2C practitioner there. The RBT is there as well because she is a communication partner for him. And so the RBT sits in to train with the spelling practitioner. And I'm watching, and he's answering questions from the reading, and she's not giving the letter. She's not, her things are like, keep going, find it, going real softly. That's all she's saying. She's just holding the keyboard. She's not touching him. And he's getting it, and he's getting the correct answers. And I'm like, okay, this is 100% him. She hasn't given him a single letter. And then at the end, the part at the end of the lesson where it's like, okay, Josh, is there anything you want to say? And I'm just the observer on the screen. I've never met this guy in person. I never met any of them in person. And he specifically says, I want to speak with her, me, on the thing. So I'm like, oh, what? This is so cool. Oh my gosh. Okay, sure, of course. What do you want to say? And, I had to get the transcript because it was October 14th, 2025. Like, my whole world has changed forever from this. But he said, I know that tonight you are going to trust that spellers and pre-spellers really are intelligent and need a way to be heard. It's like you get to be trusted with their destiny and give God's creation their voice. On our first meeting, I can see you will help any way you can. It's proverbial to help. I know how creative you are. Voices will be heard through your creativity. So I'm like bawling at this point. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know you. You're making me cry. This is really wow. So having that experience with an open speller, somebody who, his father told me his first spelling session with actually Dawn Marie, she had come in from San Diego to Maui. Josh was 15 years old. And what did the session look like? He's 15 years old. He strips butt naked, bites his arm, and then goes for his dad and bites like all over his face. Okay. That's his first spelling session with Dawn Marie. And then these are his words to me, 8 years later. So it's like, if that doesn't give so many people hope, I don't know what does. And if it doesn't make a professional in this realm say, what is going on here? Like, why don't I know about this? Why am I not exploring this for myself? Why am I not connecting with these families and these spellers to see it for myself? I don't need 17 evidence-based studies. I'm not going to read 17 evidence-based studies. I'm a worker. But what I can see is this family, how impacted they are, and what a beautiful voice this young man has, and how it touched me in a way that I'm like, okay, I'm fired up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Where are the spellers? So the client at the beach, he already is an emerging speller. So he's my first client, and I was able to write his treatment plan, his ABA treatment plan. And where it comes to communication, I've said this is his form and modality of communication because he is an emerging speller. I mean, we did this. I have his notes, like our last spelling session, he spelled tracks, objections, humanoid, substance, devices, whistleblowers, right? He's spelling. So this is his form of communication. So I can support him in this. And I did the CRP course. My boss paid for the CRP course for me in October so that I could learn and support him. And that's where I'm at in this journey. Like, I want to support my clients. And, of course, you have the Amazing Spellers Facebook group. That group is incredible. The testimonies in there, the support, the stories, they inspire me. I have my clients a part of that too, so that they can like connect and see like where this is going. And I learned so much from that group as well, of like how to, certain things coming up and everything. But yeah, it's just incredible, life chaching.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It really is. It really
Uh,
is. And I know that I've been put in a position where, I've had 4 interactions. I've had interactions with 4 different open spellers, that are at this level.
yeah.
Pretty extraordinary. And I think, if I hadn't had that, understand the skepticism,
Yeah.
So that's where I encourage, like, and all 4 of these guys, one is Laura says with love, right? So the 3 young men and the 1 young lady, they all have this heart, this activist heart, to be like, I want this for everyone, I want everyone to have a voice. I want this to have everyone to have access to this, It's like
Yeah.
a dream and a passion for all of them. So at least those 4, and then I hear through them and through different resources that that's pretty much the theme for all of them across the board, right? So that's my job as a BCBA, is to support my clients,
Yeah.
you know?
I love that. I love that so much. And I just love how you're like a trailblazer for people, for other professionals that might be, that might see or hear your story and will be inspired to do the same thing. I feel like it's amazing what you're doing, and just how your journey is unfolding. Feels like God led, and yeah, you're totally aligned with this community, and I know it changed your life, but you're going to change a lot of lives, just like what's his name, Josh said.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just amazing. So that's what you're doing is actually what we as parents and everyone in the spellers community expects to see. That's the change we would love to see for
But
professionals. Yeah.
there's a way, especially with ABA, like, what is spelling to communicate? Well, what are we actually doing in this? We're most to least prompting. That is an ABA strategy fully.
Yeah.
Most to least prompting. Like, why, I in that spellers Facebook group, I had posted that, I'm a BCBA. I support you guys. You guys are amazing. Keep sharing your testimonies. Like, that's what you need to do. Keep sharing your testimonies and connect with professionals. Get your open spellers in front of professionals as much as
Yeah.
you can, And so one mom, she actually direct messaged me, and she's like, wow. And a few of them, wow, how much I wish my ABA provider would be open. Like, why? And one went as far as getting my email and then asking if I would look at her treatment plan and all these things. And, I did free of charge. I was like, if your teenage girl is an open speller with her SLP, right? Her speech path is on board. They're spelling together. She's open with you.
Yeah.
She's writing poetry. She's doing all these things. But your ABA provider and RBT are like refusing it. But how many hours a week is your child with them? This doesn't make sense to me, So I helped this family and kind of formulated an email that was a friendly email where I brought into account the BACB ethics codes, right? We as BCBAs, we are to adhere to the ethics codes, right? And so here's just a few that I brought into that email of providing effective treatment. Talks about making sure treatment is individualized and reflects what the client can already do. She can already spell. She is communicating with people, and she can already do this. And communication is like a huge, it's a pillar of what we do as ABA providers, right? So she's already doing this. Why aren't we supporting it? You're not teaching her how to do this. My clients they're already doing this. I'm not teaching them how. Now, I am going to go through the practitioner course, and maybe there's a way that then I can start teaching new
Yeah.
people to figure this out. But right now, I am supporting my spellers that are already spellers, because that aligns with the BACB ethics. Also, collaborating with colleagues encourages ABA providers to work alongside other professionals like SLPs. You got an SLP who has taught your teenage daughter how to do this. You're supposed to collaborate. That's ethics code 2.02. Then we got consultation. Supports coordination when other providers already have strategies in place that are helping your child, right? So by being open to what is spelling, you're already spelling, you're an open communicator, you have ABA services, like, of course, this is ethically okay by the BACB, because this is something you already know how to do. This is your preferred mode of communication. I'm going to honor that, you know? So that's what and then I asked the mom, I said, and then also ask your daughter. She's an open communicator. Ask her how she feels. What does she think about her ABA? And I have the transcript because mom sent me this. She said, my hope is to be seen as a person who has many talents, so I get to be a contributor to our world. Voices come in many forms. Speech is only one way we share who we are. Then she asked for a break. Then she said, my real hope is to make others happy with my making poetry and art, because we all can find something in a poem. Then she was asked about her comments about ABA and communication and asked to explain further. And this is what she said. I am more than they expect. They are not going to practice new communication. The people are not carrying what is in my mind. I don't think we can train them.
Oh, wow.
I got all, and then she said, I think I have gotten all I need from them. So I told the mom, I was like, you got your word right there. You know, don't waste her time. Don't waste her time. They're going to put an AAC iPad device to the side for her in her ABA sessions. That once we learning all these things about apraxia and the motor control and all the things, like, she's not going to access that.
Yeah.
And they're going to refuse to use the laminate with her. Don't waste her time. Don't waste her time. You know, and it's sad. It's super sad that is kind of where the state is. But I hope and pray that, like, there's more people like me who are just like, of course, like, why would I not support, my other client, Bo, and I know he's active on social media's big activist. That's how I got to meet Laura, because they came to visit in Hawaii. And I love that he can wake up and he can tell his mom how, if his stomach's hurting or this or that or what he needs, right? Like, how many families wish, and it's like a guessing game, and he has those words. And not only that, I mean, he has so much more. Like, Bo loves to listen to native flutes. Bo loves to listen to chemistry podcasts. Bo dreams of living with his friends because he's in his 20s, because that's what 20-year-olds want to do, hang out with their friends, right? Like, he is in a college English class right now, and I'm trying to help support him through that. And he's doing it, and he's writing a narrative of how spelling to communicate changed his life, right?
Yeah.
How would we know this about him? We wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just on my heart for these providers who work with these guys to really do their due diligence and learn about it and understand it and connect with these spellers. You can't unsee what you see,
Yeah.
And with Josh, with that moment, it was like, okay, game on. I'm into this.
Yeah.
He's this is all your words. She had no idea what you were going to say. And this is
Yeah.
all about me too. You know, I've always kind of been creative, kind of boundary pusher in trying to support my students, now clients, in every way that I can. So
Yeah. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing your story. It's absolutely amazing. And I just love the timing too, because today I just made a post and there's been a lot going on with the pushback with about spelling and how people are, trying to discredit it in the community. And in my post, I said, if you're a person who is in this community, because it's people that are in the community that are pushing back, which is just the worst. But I just was saying, like, if you're a person who wants to help, you love this community, want to help, the best way to do it is to sit and watch a
with
speller
your
spell
own
in real time, just like what
eyes,
you did.
yeah.
You didn't even have to be in the same room, right? You did a Zoom call. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I did. I did. And I'm like, this is it. I got the cameras all around. I see there's, the RBT sitting behind, right? Which is kind of what I've been doing with Bo, who's an open speller. Like, I observed his spelling lesson with his S2C practitioner and I sat behind. And so there's nobody's given him these letters. Nobody's
Yeah.
given him, there's no way. These are his thoughts. So, and now I seen it with, I don't know if you know who, I got a shout out to an incredible, and I got his one of his lessons right here, his S2C lessons,
Mm.
Ryan Edgehill. He's also an open speller here on Hawaii who is brilliant. He loves quantum physics and advanced calculus. And I mean, he's incredible, so smart. And he has a free website. It's called spellmeaboutit.com. This was our first with my other guy who's his friend. We did this lesson called The Moon is Weird, which was incredible. We learned so much fascinating things about the moon and like mysteries about certain missions to the moon. Ryan wrote that.
Yeah.
It's definitely for advanced, intellectually stimulating articles, but a great website. And I love my guy that I'm working with. I could tell he was so happy to like support his friend, and that's what I was telling. I was like, we finished. We broke this. It's a long article. We broke it into 3 spelling sessions, but we finished it all in this week. And he was smiling so big at me, when we finished. I was like, that's so cool. Your friend wrote this and you supported him. And I think that's amazing. And
Yes.
just like, and I started this lesson with Bo as well. And it was funny because Ryan's written a lot of articles the website's great. Highly recommend. And he has it by category of like metaphysics, spirituality, mystery, all these different things. And so I asked Bo, like, what would you like to do? Which one of Ryan's lessons, this or this? And he spelled out, I don't care, anyone, like he just wants to support of his course. He's good with anything that Ryan wrote, because they're like so sweet and loving to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, for me, as my guy, Callan, is not open yet. We're going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's been great to have Bo and Ryan. We have a little spellers club. We meet on Wednesdays. And
Yeah.
it's been so great to have them give feedback to me as well,
Yeah.
And there's one that I really had to kind of meditate and really think and pray into. Bo had told me, to read into Callan's energy. He's very sensitive. Read into his energy.
Oh.
That's was going to be like a breakthrough, right? And so I kind of just I was thinking about that for a while. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that look like? How do I change? How do I change as his communication partner to read into his energy? And you know what? This week was our best week. He spelled more words than he's spelled in all of our other sessions.
Yeah.
body was the most regulated it's been.
So what did you do? How
I
did
did.
you?
I changed my mentality. Coming from teacher, BCBA, it's also just I've been an athlete my whole life. This whole like goal, get the goal, get the goalpost, let's get there. What's our
Yeah.
next target? What's our
Mhm.
next? What's our next? And I think for him, that pressure I put even on my own self was kind of affecting him.
Yeah.
So I changed my mentality of like, this isn't about accuracy, targets, when are you going to open? How, we got to get to at least the 10 words. We always get to 10. So we got, he'll start all done spell. And I'm like, no, we're not at the 10 yet, and I was like that before. But this week I was like, I'm going to change my mentality to be like, and this is what my boss, Howard, Josh's dad, said. He was like, he's got great like metaphors and things for me, and encouragement. But he said, like, think about the movie Rocky, like how it's just this journey. It's not
Yeah.
even about the end thing. Like the end thing is great. Like when they're open and they're communicating this, but it's a journey. Like enjoy the journey. You're helping them have a voice. Enjoy the journey. So I kind of really like took that into consideration this week in Bo's words, and I didn't put any pressure on myself. Like, we're going to finish when we finish. If we get to 10 words, cool. And guess what? All 3 sessions, the first one we did 15, then we did 12, then we did 13. We did more than the 10.
Yeah.
He was the most regulated he'd been in the whole time.
Wow.
I wasn't like, come on, we're going to get there. Like, oh, you got those right. Oh, you only, and I think something that like is good is that because the BCBA brain is so like, I'm observing, right? So I observe where his mispokes typically are. And like for him, a lot of it is the center. So when I give that prompt, center letter, boom, he hits it. I give that center prompt. And then I notice like his other mispokes it's just one off on the corner, So I'm able to like kind of target things a little bit differently because I'm noticing where is the mispoke happening.
Yeah.
I think is good. And that's where I'm like, BCBAs, if you can shift your mind into like, one, presume competence. These guys, you're 19, you got a mind of a 19-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, I am treating you like that. I'm speaking to you like that. I'm giving you lessons like this that are very high level intelligence. And that's number one. But then we have these qualities to help to build that accuracy too,
Yeah.
because that's what we track in our jobs.
Mhm.
So, I'm trying to, in my own way, make my own way of doing this where I'm blending the things and ultimately for the betterment of my client. And I don't know what is better than giving your client a voice. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's nothing better.
Yeah.
And then the mom's like, oh, he slept so good last night. He's, other things start to happen.
Yes.
And I'm not like having to like track this, make a program for this, make a program for that. It's like these things are naturally happening because he is getting excited, probably like this is happening. My voice is going to come out. Howard gave me this great visual too when I first started this whole thing. And I kind of always have this picture in my head. He's like, it's like this. These guys are in a well. They've been sitting at the bottom of the well for decades, some of them, right? Just waiting for somebody to help them get out of the well. And he's like, so when I first started the CRP course and I'm like, oh, how do I hold the board? Am I holding it right? Like getting nervous about like, I don't want to mess him up, And he's like, no, take that pressure off yourself. And no, now you're like that little face over the well. That's like, hey, I'm here. I'm here. I see you. Let's start climbing. So we're like on that journey right now of like getting up out of the well, and I just, that was a great like visual thing for me to like keep in my head, is like, we're just making the steps and it's going to happen when it's meant to happen. And
Yeah.
I can't put these like, treatment plan will be this by this date, all this, that, we're flowing with it. And I think that is what maybe Bo meant by like, read into his energy.
Yeah. Wow. I love that so much. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it's going to help a lot of um, other professionals, just from
Oh,
hearing your testimony and what your whole journey. It has so many good, like, they can follow in your path because
mm,
you've shared so many things that pointers on what to do basically. And I just love also how your work, you shared something that I've never heard before, that I didn't know that there's things that you can really really use with your training in your specialty in being a BCBA that
mhm,
are like really closely linked to spelling,
mhm.
and you can strengthen them in that. That is amazing. And I feel
Yeah,
like that's a good thing for people to know or to remember, even because I'm thinking they should know this already, right? If you're a
right,
BCBA.
right, right. But we don't, I mean, my training, this is pseudoscience. I never heard the word presumed competence. I never heard the word apraxia. Never. And I
That's
mean, I finished less than a year ago. I finished last May, So um it's like, this is new things, but to me, with whatever profession you do, and maybe that's why like I always was like shifted in my educational journey too. I've taught from pre-K to dropout prevention, and all the different disabilities in between. Is that it's like I like to evolve,
Mhm.
right? And this as a profession, like we have to evolve. We have to evolve when we can't deny that we have level 3 severe autistic non-speaking individuals who are communicating on devices because they went through the journey, right? They started with the 3-letter boards, they went to the laminate, they went to they're at that. They've been on the journey. This is not an overnight, I got the strategy and you're going to be all good, right? Like they went through it. They worked very hard with their families, with their practitioners, with the people supporting them to get there. But there is a way, you
Yeah.
know? And so that's what I would hope any good professional would take from this, that there is a way. And maybe I need to step up in my learning and my education to support my clients, because that's
Yeah.
what I signed up for in this field.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all you're doing. So I feel like one of the last questions that I usually ask people, and I wanted to hear from you. So, what has working with non-speakers and spellers taught you about life?
Oh man, gosh, so much. I it's so funny because people who are like, "Oh, Raiza, you're just so good. You're so patient. You work with special needs," and I'm like, "Do you know how much they give to me?" Like, they are amazing. They the perseverance that it took, for Bo, Josh, Laura, Ryan to get to where they're at, you know? It's incredible to witness, and they fill me with hope for not just for them, but for the others, the other non-speaking individuals, the other families who are just in this of like, what do I do with my kid? How can I help them? They bring so much hope. They bring so much joy. They're funny. They're smart. They each have their own unique personalities. They are individuals, just like my typical teenager is. So it's just work that I would do for free if I didn't have bills to pay.
Yeah.
I would do this. This is the job that I know that God created me to do, and not something I would ever want to retire from. Like, how do you retire from wanting to give somebody a voice?
Yeah.
And a life and a quality of life and the depth that these guys have. I mean, the spirituality aspect, right? Amazing. So they just bring hope and joy and love and peace into my world. And that is something that is very precious and I'm super grateful for. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being willing to share your story and for all that you're doing to help this community, to help the non-speakers you're working with. As a professional who is just not like a parent or anything, that is something that a lot of us parents are praying for. This is what we would love to see other professionals do, and you're doing such an amazing job. And I'm so thankful as an autism mom for what you're doing.
We have our second BCBA onboarding. So
Here
with us. She's actually coming to the Spellers Club in 2 weeks. I mean, you have to see this for yourself, but this is a very creative BCBA, new energy. I kind of, we have our own little strategy here in Hawaii of how we're building the tribe. And I was like, we need to go for the new school ABA providers right now. We're just like not so ingrained in things that are opposite of presumed competence.
Yes.
There's people that are like the new BCBA that's coming on board. So I'm excited that now we'll get to work with even more families, because there are some other spellers who, they need support, but they don't have ABA right now because, I'll say this one last story that I think is important. And this is why we're hiring this other BCBA. There was an intake that I did with the family, and it's a young lady, 18 years old. She knows how to spell, and she's caretaken by her father, and she's been going through a lot of severe things. I don't like behaviors, but I know that's what we call it in ABA behavior. But now I'm like, a lot of motor dysregulation, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're open to ABA now because it's a little network, and they're like, Raiza is a BCBA that will support her spelling because she spells. And I'm like, okay. And the dad said, yeah, we tried an ABA thing online, but I was on the headset. And then the BCBA is like, okay, well, give her the things she wants and then just take it away. Like, make her mad, let me see these behaviors. And I'm like, okay, I know that this is a strategy in ABA, but it also, in my schooling, it was like, this is the last thing you do, like last ditch effort. You really can't figure out the function of this behavior, but you also know that their behavior isn't self-harming or things like that. But it was something that is like, don't do it, and the fact that this father was asked to do this, and he was like, and that's when I knew this isn't for us. And I was like, good for you. Good for you. And that's why I want to help you guys, because you naturally know, like, no, she's intelligent and she's in there. And why would I do this to my own child and affect our relationship? She's not an animal to be like watching at the zoo to like figure this out. So I'm glad that we can support this family now, but I also know, like, okay, obviously that's out there. Yeah. And we got to keep shifting minds.
Yes. We'll continue. We need to continue to speak up and share experiences that will help people change the way they think and continue to shift the paradigm, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so thankful that you were able to share your story.
Yeah, I'm glad I could be here and get to know you, and good for you for doing this podcast. I know it's hard as a parent. And you have your own special needs child, and I know it's a hard thing, but that's great. This is how it changes when people have access to information and learn.
Yes. Yeah, it's something that has been helping me learn as well. And I absolutely love doing it. And so even though it's a lot of work, I don't mind. I love it. It does
Good.
get to a point where I burn myself out because I'm so into it and I'm just loving it and forgetting about myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I just love it. I'm
Balance.
so, yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel so you can get notified whenever I post new episodes. Until next time.